Oh, hello. Welcome to Top Dice. Hi, welcome to Top Dice. I'm Aid. Chris, usual co-host, is with us, and we've got
Right.
Craig with us today.
Okay.
Craig, hi. Tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what you do.
Hi. Well, as I said, my name is Craig. I am the owner of Composite Games Limited, and the new business we're about to launch is Wargaming International Limited. We were set up originally as a tabletop game and design company, but we then did venture out into other third-party games such as Dungeons and Dragons and the various Games Workshop brands. We have since diversified into further wargaming games as well. But what we have really started looking at is diversifying our community, because it's quite evident quite early on that the niche hobbies like what we've got, they can only be sustained by its community. And the more people we could get involved in the community, the better. And through various contacts I've made over the last 10 years, it's come to light that there's quite a few niche communities that don't really get the opportunity to get involved in the hobby, or have a harder time getting involved in the hobby. And it's through this kind of understanding that I've made some headway with over the last, say, 18 months, where we've really started to reach out to the community, such as the neurodivergent community, and also the LGBTQ community as well, where we've been really working to invite them into the shop and create a safe and welcoming environment,
Brilliant.
to the point where we're even running specialist games for these people. And that's really started to take headway. And then that's also led us to create our own custom events to try and build the hobby up and make people want to come in and engage in the community more than just sitting on the sidelines
Okay,
with books and movies.
okay, to start off with, where are you based?
We're based in Doncaster, which is South Yorkshire.
Doncaster. And have you got an address that you can give us?
Yes, I can. The current retail store we've just opened back in November is on 24A Hallgate, which is just outside the Doncaster Town Centre.
Fantastic. So you're quite central then. You're within easy reach of bus routes, etc. Well,
Absolutely.
that's a huge step anyway on that. And you do mail order?
We do. We have a website, which is www.compositegames.co.uk. If you don't find something on there you'd like, if you message us, normally we do have the means of getting hold of it for you.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, what we'll do, if you can actually send that information through to me, Craig, I will actually include it in the comments here. So, guys, take a look at the comments. Information about this will be in there. Also, whilst you're at it, please click subscribe. The more this community grows, the more we can actually support everybody, basically. That's what it's all about. And Craig is kind of bringing it all together here. This is what we are doing here today is all around, as in different variety of different communities within the greater role playing and gaming community, pulling them together, strength in numbers, and also it's an open, safe, friendly environment. That's the whole key to it. So you run quite a few games in shop. Then you've got a couple of tables there.
Yeah, so currently we have the capacity for 5 gaming tables,
Wow. Okay. Yep.
but we've moved into a 4-story building, so we're only actually utilising the ground floor at the moment. So
Cool.
if we were to run on a 6-foot table basis, we could probably have something in the region of maybe 20 tables in the shop.
That's impressive.
So it's there's a lot of potential space there, depending on how we use them. We do want to turn one of the rooms we've got on the first floor into a streaming room, so people can come in and we can stream people actually playing Dungeons and Dragons or doing battle reports for Warhammer. So that's kind of what we'll be looking to kind of do next, as part of our like crowdfunding and whatever we can get from institutions around the UK. But yeah, there's a potential for a lot of growth in the building.
There is there. Now, you mentioned before we started recording that you have associations with a certain group or organisation, probably it's a CIC, I presume, that supports neurodiversity. Do you want to talk a bit about that as well?
Absolutely. So this all started off through the Chamber of Commerce. They arrange regular community kind of meetups, and this one was a Korean quiz night. And through this event, I bumped into a guy called Logan who runs a company called Stride Yorkshire, and I got chatting with him because uh, it, it became quite evident just after we'd opened the shop, we had lots of parents bringing in neurodivergent children because it's something they wanted them to kind of do or get involved with. So I had a conversation with him, and that led him to bring some of his clients and some of his staff into the shop. And that was February last year that first meeting took place. So now we're more than 12 months later, and his community, so his business, is now talking about coming into the shop to play Dungeons and Dragons. So this is kind of growing itself outside of our reach, and we're now up to 2 tables, so 2 Dungeons and Dragons groups running every other week. What we do is we start off with the Dragons of Storm Lecture Isle, which is kind of an introductory adventure for Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
and then from that we let them roll their own characters, and we move on to its own independent campaigns. So they get to go from an introduction to creating their own characters and telling their own stories. And over this period of time, we've seen a massive improvement in their interpersonal communication skills.
Yeah.
And that's really built up our confidence in kind of really starting to dip our toe into how we could get ourselves. So by ourselves, I mean me and Dan, the other manager of the store, better skilled to really get more people coming in, building a portfolio of and instructions on how to other stores can do this, and maybe take it so it's we can run it nationwide to help other neurodivergent communities blossom across the whole of the UK.
Right. So the various communities that you've actually got, you mentioned obviously got the neurodiverse community, you've got the LGBTQ community. Are there many crossovers amongst the various communities? Are you finding you mentioned there about social skills improving? Is there much interaction, or do they tend to sort of stick with their own sort of groups in the shop? Just trying to get a picture here of how that works.
So it's interesting because we don't tend to ask people about their various orientations and stuff because it's not really any of our business. The kind of the rule of thumb in the shop is if you want to come in and enjoy the hobby, then we will enforce that. We will also enforce that you're not treated unfairly.
Brilliant.
And it's when I started to foster this interest in maybe helping these communities, then there were individuals that we had to remove from the community before we started this because they would have destroyed things before they took hold.
Perfect. Yeah.
So
that's where I was actually sort of going with this. I was just wondering if what the situation. So basically, it's open, free to mix, which is the way it should be, and just get on with things. Well, I'm loving that. Chris, what's your thoughts?
That's a fantastic idea because I live in Liverpool, and there is a sort of there is a role-playing community, but it's quite hard to find. It's very scattered. It's and there's also different groups for sort of support for people sort of with neurodivergent issues. There's other group, various other groups that sort of get sort of marginalised and sort of ignored or suffer from abuse and various other things. But you don't mix. I think it's a brilliant idea that should be well, countrywide. because the hobby contains quite a lot of people who are from all kinds of different backgrounds that would benefit from support for various things to sort of build their confidence and sort of their life skills, and just to get them out and sort of enjoy life, rather than thinking, oh my God, I can't, sort of, the school bully was right, and I'm just going to hide myself away, and it's like, no, you are an important person, and you can go out and you can go and do this. It should be encouraged countrywide.
Well, it's very much, I find gaming is very much a way of unifying people.
Yes.
You've all got a love of a particular thing, and with us on Tabletop UK, it's role playing and other associated types of games, and it's such a, you've got that common factor there, and all of a sudden when you start talking to someone, you've got a common ground. Everyone has a common ground, and it's level. After that, you might start talking about other things, but it'd be like, oh, nice dice, nice miniatures. Yeah, tell me about your character. And that's a great way of getting people to open up, as I'm sure you found, Craig.
Yeah, it's basically it is all about breaking down barriers and stigmas, and let people come in and basically, they're nice dice, like you said. Oh, can we look at your models? You've got your models and they're painted, and some people are putting up really close up, look at them, and then seeing something interesting catches their eye, and then that it's all about getting the conversation moving, and that's the main thing. I had a meeting last Thursday with a various group of financiers, but one of the people I did speak to was someone from Business Doncaster about the whole social aspect of the community, and he's actually reaching out to see if there's any funding for this type of thing.
Brilliant.
Because one of the things that I want to kind of do as a retailer, because obviously that means obviously as a business I can obviously employ people, is I'm looking at working at a kind of like a halfway house. And what I mean by that is, like you were saying, for about the people who are, they're who've been bullied and they're not very good. There's people that will come from environments that I put them on the back foot, and they're going to find a hard time getting out of the pit.
Yeah.
So one of the ideas that we've got, and this is where we'll need a bit of support, is we will take people on a temporary, short-term employment basis. We'll get them the opportunity to play the games, teach the games, and basically, run the till, answer emails. And basically what they'll get out of that is they'll run a D&D event. So basically they've done event handling, they've done cash handling, they've done the customer relations on the website, worked on the till. So after that period of time, we will then give them a reference, which is the biggest thing they'll be missing.
Yeah.
And we'll help them move on to either something else in the hobby. There may be another shop can take them on, or it could be that they get, they can get that first job in McDonald's, or they can get a job working in an office somewhere. But we'll help them through the skills and things and the experience we can give them in the shop.
Experience, and it adds on to that CV, and the CV is the opener basically.
Yeah,
so
you can't have a job because you need experience.
Yeah.
How to get experience.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're just going to take a very short break for a second. We'll be right back with you. Okay, well, we're back. We just took a short break there. We're going to sort of continue now with Craig, and we've covered quite a few things that he's involved with, and hopefully be back to sort of talk more again with another one. But also one thing that we've not really touched on yet is an aspect of your business, which is writing games. So you mentioned again before we started recording a little bit about this. So talk us through it. Where are you at with things?
Okay, so we look at the game design on two fronts. So there's a tabletop game, which is where the game is obviously 90% on the table in front of you. And then there's the flip side, which is the role-playing game, which is where 10% of the game is kind of on the game and everything else is in your head, in mind's eye. So the role-playing games. So what we've been doing over the last 10 years is I've been developing a couple of intellectual properties, so worlds to kind of host our kind of role-playing games and various other elements. So we've got the Chronicles of Alundra, which is a fantasy kind of setting, which is somewhere between Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, which has some influences from typical things like the Cthulhu mythos, but also kind of a whole other avenue of theology where the universe is set between our universe and the next universe. In that little gap in between, that's where these creatures and these entities exist, and that's where the world was kind of created. And then we've got the unseen world, which is kind of my kind of envisioning of the whole urban fantasy, where you've got the modern world that we live in, but we have what's called the Veil, which is a mystical kind of field which kind of blocks the sight of the normal person. So everything we see is basically an illusion, and there are the minority that can see through that, and that's where the fantastical elements will be. That's where your vampires and your monsters, and then you've got your wizards and your magic, and all those elements kind of exist. And we've got that kind of linked into the Christianity and Judaism, but also into the more you've got the Nordic and all of those type of ideas and monsters and creatures as well, such as your trolls and your giants and things. So we've been using those to kind of create a portfolio of kind of products, but we've also got what we call the Crazy Eight system, which is a role-playing game which is only played with 2d8.
Okay, yeah.
And we got the concepts from another designer. He kind of had a very bare bones of it, which we kind of discussed with him and then we purchased from him. And then we've basically taken that the core mechanics, which is the 2d8, what we bought, we've kind of developed into a fully fledged kind of system that's currently at the playtest stage. We're wanting to aim that into the neurodivergent type of thing and younger players, because it only requires 2 dice and it's very minimal maths, basic maths.
Yeah.
And then we have another much more engrossed system, which is very, very cinematic with its combat, where you have your skill trees, and through the skill trees you can actually develop the ability. So if someone attacks you, you can basically dodge and hit them back, and then they can parry and then hit you back. And so it gets like, where it just being the Dungeons and Dragons thing, which I hit you, you hit me. When you get hit, you actually get to think how you're going to respond to that. Are you going to let them hit you, or are you actually going to do something about it? And it becomes a little bit more cinematic because of that.
It
and then
certainly sounds it. Yeah. Okay. I'm sold. Yeah. Do you want to take me money now?
I wish. But then on the board game front, we've got 3 board games. We have a children's board game based on Jack and the Beanstalk, which we have it runs in a very similar fashion to Snakes and Ladders. The idea is to get to the castle and get the treasure and get back. However, every time you land on a picture of the giant moves 4 steps because he has to go fee, fi, fo, fum. It's written in the literature,
Oh,
and then basically, so fee, fi, fo, fum, and if you pass us over, you lose your treasure and you go back to the beginning. So this giant moves up and down now, depending on how you want to play the rules. The giant can move slow, or he can turn into Usain Bolt and run up and down the board. So you have to find the magic bean spaces, because that makes you immune to the giant. So that's basically our children's game. And then we've got another game, which is the bomb game, which is where it's up to 4 players and it's tile based. So you put the tiles out and you set them up, and then which will give you a multitude of different potential layouts. But just to make things even more fun, you all get cards, and the cards manipulate the board. They make your fuses, which is your little playing pieces, you've got to move them to the other players to blow up their bombs, and that takes them out of the game. But you can slow people's fuses, move people's fuses, and you can also rotate the tiles. So you might just be able to take a player out, and then someone will play a card which flips it around, which takes this thing on a complete different trajectory. And then you might have the cards to counter it. So you can team up, and you can also cause people to skip goes and all types of things. So that's the bomb game. And then finally, we have a miniatures game, which is our skirmish kind of little warband game, which is set in the Alundra universe, which is called Heroes of Alundra. So they're kind of what we've been kind of putting together, which is why obviously we're now looking to diversify Composite Games into its own thing, so we can focus on getting those games released, because they're at prototype stage. So you can play these games. It's just they need refining, so that when we can go to these financiers or get this money, we can basically put them straight into production. And that's where we are with that.
or
Right.
Kickstart them. Have you thought about that? Or
Yeah, we follow the Kickstart Kickstarter community quite closely, and they're as someone once told me, for every 1 or 2 really successful Kickstarters, there's dozens of failed ones beneath it.
There are, yeah.
And we don't have anywhere near the community at the minute to support any of these launches. We have a community that were 100% backers, but to get the numbers we would need to get any one of those games out there, probably the bomb game is probably the one we're going to start with. And to get that out there, we're going to need a lot more support, which is why we're looking to build the communities within the shop, right, to people start talking about these games. But yeah, absolutely. If you look at the games like Frosthaven, which made multiple millions of pounds, that's our kind of target. If we fall short of that, then that's fine. As long as we've made more than we need to basically get the game designed. So you aim for the stars, and then if you fall short, at least you've got the moon. And that's kind of the analogy that I'm trying to work to.
Philosophy to have, I guess.
Yeah, I think the issue with Kickstarter as well, they become victims of their own popularity, and they take such a chunk of the money that's actually put up by they are basically investors. Anyone who backs it's an investor.
Yeah.
And I think it's you've got to be ever so careful. Now, Jason J from Feral Gamers Inc. We'll get on with him sometime, and he's big on the old Kickstarters, etc. And he might be worthwhile doing an episode with yourself where he can actually sort of explain the pros and cons of all these, and you can ask questions as well. So there you go. There's a thought.
Yeah. I know he does actually want to talk about Kickstarters in general on here. So
yeah,
that just maybe the 4 of us, that'd be quite interesting actually.
Well, that's it. The other thing is Craig, we'd like to have you back on a regular basis. And again, you very clearly support the smaller areas of the gaming community, which is what we're trying to sort of help and bring together anyway. Yeah. This is one of the whole points of why we're actually sort of doing these videos, and basically we've got the group, and it's all about support, safe areas, and actually keeping the UK stamp on it. Yet we've got a lot of international people, but UK is it's the name on the tin.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just actually the idea that the kind of business plan we've got is obviously the games will be designed by Composite Games. They'll be stocked in store at Wargame International, and then obviously retailed worldwide. But I can then start knocking on the doors of places like the Entertainer and Smiths and with some of these, and then we can look at start getting these into shops. And then if we can get them, agreeing to put, even 50 units in some of these branches across the whole of the UK, that could be quite a lot. And then you've got places like Asmodee, who we trade with, which is they specialize in a lot of the board games and card games. So again, it's if we can get them to agree to take on the distribution of our stuff, then a lot of the money could come from there. But we need people to kind of galvanize behind us and help us get the games so that we can get the artwork kind of
get them out there. Basically, that's the key to it. Get them out there, and then always, of course, as development goes on, you could always do special editions, like improved editions, whatever. But it's getting the initial sort of game out there, and that is the key to it, and that's the most difficult part.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you'll come back and share where you're actually at with these going forward, and hopefully you will join us again. Chris, anything from your side?
No, you covered it pretty well. I mean, I would like to talk to you about your own personal role-playing sort of experiences and things like that. Like, just to sort of see where sort of you're coming from and your tastes and your sort of likes and dislikes. More likes, I should say.
Chris, I'll stop you there. Let's put him on the spot. Craig, top 3 role-playing games.
Yes, do it.
Very good. So
save you from that, but yes.
Don't need to. I'm not bothered about the order because that can be so difficult when you put on the spot. But have you got a top 3 set of different role-playing games that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So off the cuff, if you want to consider them to be different, there's 5th edition D&D.
Yeah.
I love the accessibility of it, but I have to say my favorite is 3.5, just because it was so number crunchy and you could build some real monsters in that setting. But I do have a real fondness for the World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade. I always loved that game. The dark storytelling. So yeah, they were the main 2. And I did really enjoy playing the Wizard of the Coast Star Wars game.
Yeah.
I love the way that they integrated the vehicles and shit things into that.
It was very different. I'm a big fan of the D6 system, the West End Games one, because that's what I grew up with. That was the best way to put it. But in the days of 3rd edition D&D, it certainly made an impression that there was the Coast version. And also, I really liked the way they actually took some of the source books. And again, you mentioned about the vehicles, etc. And of course, you could get the miniatures. If you think back, they were available, and I love them. I've still got a huge box of miniatures upstairs. The Wizards of the Coast Star Wars ones. Everything from clone troopers, stormtroopers, rebel troopers, weird droids, things I don't even know what the heck they are. But the Star Wars, and what's not to love? It's Star Wars.
Exactly. Awesome setting and an awesome game.
So, so there we go. Chris, your top 3 role-playing games ever?
Ever, Jesus.
Ever. Come on. You put Craig on the spot. I'm putting you on the spot now, lad.
Okay. Ever. Okay.
It'll change tomorrow. That's absolutely fine. But now, at this very moment in time, you can take 3 games away with you, and they're the only games you're going to be allowed to play for the rest of the night. What are they going to be?
Right. Okay. In no order. start with Unknown Armies, second edition. I just love that raw wise, sort of art wise, the interior, the setting, the way it literally turned sort of like Magic sort of role-playing games on its head. It basically took Mage the Ascension, ran the back some bins, kicked it to death, and took over and just went, right, this is how we should have a role-playing game based around Magic. It was gritty, horrible, in a sort of like, I want to play this sort of way. It sort of took the real world and sort of put this weird edge on it. It was insanely unique. Don't know quite what they've done with third edition, but
it's all right. We've got that's one. Number two.
Number two is A State, first edition.
Yeah, indie game, love it.
Massive fan of it. I was there from the beginning, talking to Mark and Craig on the internet. Just wow, amazing, unique again. And the third,
go on.
Magic. No, the third is Vampire Dark Ages.
There you go. Quite a few crossovers there then. So right, I'm not going to give you mine. Can save that for a separate video. Actually, my three favorite ones: Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, because I've played it the most. Star Wars D6, so that's interesting. That's a crossover really with your Star Wars on that side, and Call of Cthulhu. They would be my three, and with a very close one behind would be Cyberpunk. So there we go. So there we go. Quite a bit of variation, but lots of crossovers as well. Very interesting when you put people on the spot and say, okay. Now, the thing is, if we ask you tomorrow, Craig, you'll probably come up with a different wolf set. I know Chris will and I will. Yeah. So you might find that we do this on a regular basis and just to see what's actually sort of changed. We are going to be doing this bit of off the press news here. We're going to be doing a top 100 games, role-playing games at some stage towards the end of the year. God help us with that one. And we're going to do it in blocks of 10. Start at 100 and work our way to number one. So there we go.
that is the top 100 games ever.
Yeah, our top 100. It's might have to get you in on that one as well. So I can see there's going to be lots of angst, tears, and an upset in that one. Yeah. But I'm sure we'll find some middle ground for everybody on that. But anyway, that's for the future. That right. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you're going to come back and join us again. It'd be great to have you as a semi-regular. I know you've got a business to run, so time is quite precious. But it would be great to sort of have you coming back and joining the panels when we just talk about role-playing games, just variety of things, but also again,
role-playing wise,
yeah, the neurodiversity chats that we actually have. It would be great to have you as a part of those as well. All right. Okay, well, it's goodbye from them and it's goodbye from me. So thanks very much for listening, and make sure you click subscribe, and we'll catch you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.